Music theory is all about patterns that are simple but seem confusing because of the symbols we use to picture them. Here's how it works. We use two sets of symbols, letters and numbers, that form the basic vocabulary of music that help us describe music like this. Letters refer to the specific notes. Each individual pitch has its own letter name, while numbers label the various intervals in a key. And these numbers are more general because we can shift them to align with the notes in any key. And here's where it can get confusing, because the letter names alone are weird, where some are just letters like A, B, and C, while others have sharp or flat names like D sharp or G flat, etc. So this can kind of trip you up as you try to remember which note is which. But then on top of that, you have these numbers which also have these strange sharp and flat names, and these numbers change from one key to the next. So in one key, C, for example, is 1, then it's flat 2, or sharp 4, or flat 7, etc. Honestly, it can be crazy making, but the first step toward making sense of it all is to recognize that these two sets of symbols, letters and numbers, serve different but complementary roles. And we can use this family to illustrate. The letter name for each note is like the name of each individual person: Jean, Bob, Kate, and Tim. While the numbers or scale degrees are like the titles mom, dad, sister, or brother. The letters refer to the specific people, while the numbers are general labels that could apply to any family, which is why the numbers can shift from one key to the next, just as the titles mom, dad, sister, and brother can describe any group of relatives. So together, these letter and number symbols combine to tell us how the various notes relate, which is important since music theory is all about these patterns and relationships. The only trouble is, these letter and number symbols are so abstract and sterile that they don't intuitively communicate these relationships at a glance. For example, in any key, there's a special relationship between intervals 1 and 5, just like there's a close bond between the roles of mother and child. Yet there's no apparent connection between the numbers 1 and 5. How would you know that? Or that there's a similar link between intervals 5 and 2, or 2 and 6, etc. With the letters and numbers alone, these connections are lost. So a better way to picture all of this is to use color, applying the color wheel to the circle of fifths, and then rearranging this pattern into the chromatic scale. And now the colors help us kill two birds with one stone. They do what the letters are trying to do, which is to distinguish each individual note from the next, but more clearly, and they highlight the various relationships between the intervals in a key, but more directly. So you can see, for example, that intervals 1 and 5 are closely related, as are 5 and 2, etc., which are important connections to know when you write melodies and play chords. And since the colors are cyclical and symmetrical like music itself, and unlike the letters and numbers, these relationships are clean and consistent in every key. So in a nutshell, letters and numbers form the basic vocabulary of music. They're visually confusing, but give us at least a handy way of describing the various patterns and relationships that are at play. And colors are a much better way to understand and apply these concepts in your music.